Hello everyone, this is me Asad Mahmood with another topic that is kind of premature for Ireland, but I still think it is very much important that we discuss about it. Premature in a sense that I don't think there are any mosques in Ireland that are broadcasting call to prayer on the loudspeaker at this minute. But there were many applications that were filed by some of the organizations. Those applications were partially allowed on the condition that if the broadcasting of call to prayer remains within the boundaries of the mosque, then it is allowed. It should not go outside of the boundaries of the mosque. Why is it so concerning for Ireland? It is concerning for Ireland because there are many local councils in some of the Western countries that have allowed the call to prayer to be broadcasted on the loudspeaker. And the people in those areas are objecting to it, but local councils and local governments are not paying any heed to their concerns. This can happen here in Ireland too. If in some local council Muslims get in the majority and they allow the call to prayer on the loudspeaker, then what about the people who are not Muslim living in those areas? Non-Muslims will have to also listen to the call to prayer in the same area. That is quite concerning. Once the permission has been granted, then it is very hard to withdraw that permission. Why is it hard? Because if you have any objection to it, if you raise your concerns about it, then you will be called Islamophobe, you will be called racist, or you will be labeled with such kind of tags that are not real or that are not true. So I want to discuss on this topic even before any of such permission is granted to any of the mosques. I just want to narrate my experience while I was living in Pakistan. Where I was living, there were not one but many mosques in the area. Some mosques were Sunni mosques, some mosques were Shia mosques, and then there were other mosques belonging to other school of thoughts of Islam. The timings of the prayer were different according to various sects of Islam. Sunni call to prayer timing was also different than Shia call to prayer. In this kind of scenario, I was listening to at least 10 calls to prayer in a day. And it is not only the call to prayer that was being broadcasted in those loudspeakers. Mosques were broadcasting their personal sessions, their sermons for Juma prayers, their overnight sessions, sometime call to prayer for Tahajjud as well. There were many call to prayers and there were many more things being broadcasted through those loudspeakers. It can become a problem for Western countries too. Why it can become a problem? For example, if Sunni people, Sunni sect of Islam, have been allowed to build a mosque in a local council area, then Shia people can come to the local council and say that, oh, we are different, we have different religious views, so please allow us to build our mosque as well in the same area. And if you are not allowing this, then you are discriminating with us. So in that sense, in that scenario, local council will be forced to allow another mosque in the same area, and then they could have different timings for the prayers and the call to prayers. So, in the same local area, if one mosque is allowed to broadcast the call to prayer on the loudspeaker, then the other mosque that is from a different sect, they will be doing their call to prayer on their own timing. The same area would end up with 10 calls to prayer in a day. I'm just creating this hypothetical scenario. I'm not saying it's gonna happen or it can happen or it will happen, but there's a possibility of it happening in the near future. Ideally, there are 5 calls to prayer in a day, and the first one starts as early as 4:30 or 5 a.m. in the morning when many of the people are sleeping. Keeping in view the shift patterns in Ireland, there could be many people who are finishing their shift around 3 a.m. in the morning, and those people could be going to the beds around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning. And if there's a mosque in that area that has been granted permission to broadcast the adhan at that time, then sleep of those people could be disturbed. Then there will be another issue. In the area where the mosque have been allowed to broadcast the adhan on the loudspeakers, Muslims locally will be demanding the respect for adhan. In Muslim countries, whenever there is adhan being broadcasted on the loudspeaker, their Muslim try to stay quiet and be respectful until the azan is over. But the same kind of respect will be demanded in non-Muslim countries from the Westerners, which will be hard issue. And if people are not giving the same kind of respect to the azan, then it will become a religious extremist issue. After the grant of permission, if there are any objections by the non Muslim, then Muslims will view these objections as objections from non Muslim communities because Muslims have a bias toward Islam and they will think that maybe non Muslims are objecting to the call of prayer just because of their own religious bias against Islam. So, this will become a religiously charged issue instead of just an issue about the noise pollution or disturbance. Most of the time, when Muslims are seeking permission to broadcast adhan in the loudspeakers, they are basing their reasoning on the church bells. They say that because churches are allowed to ring the bells, so that is why our adhan should also be allowed to be broadcasted through the loudspeakers. But I just want to say that there's a huge difference in both of the things. Church bells only ring for 1 or 2 minutes and they do that during the daytime. They are not done early in the morning or late in the night. Whereas adhan can last up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and sometimes the timings of adhan are very odd, early in the morning 4 5 a.m. or late at night around 8 9 p.m. That can cause disturbance in the communities. Comparing adhan with the church bells is not a proper comparison. And then in those areas where call to prayer has been allowed on the loudspeakers, non Muslims can look at it as a form of showing superiority or dominance by the Muslim over the non Muslim. That can generate the element of Islamophobia in non Muslim communities and trigger some of the people to vandalize mosques and damage the mosque properties in their area. So there are a few reasons that I'm talking about this topic. But in Irish scenario, if we talk about it, why non-Muslims have to listen to call to prayer, and it should not be allowed in Irish scenario, according to my point of view. I know call to prayer is a sunnah, and it is part of the culture. It is not something on which the faith of a Muslim depends on. To pray 5 times a day is mandatory in Islam, and you have to do it as a mandatory obligation. But to do the call to prayer in the loudspeaker is not mandatory. Now, in this time and age, we have mobile phones and we have such an advanced technology that we can install an app on the phone, and that app will broadcast the adhan on the phone according to the prayer timings. Adhan is there just to notify Muslims of the prayer timings. So, why, in such time and age of technology advancement, we need call to prayer on the loudspeaker? I'm not saying there should be no call to prayer. I'm just saying there should be no call to prayer on the loudspeaker. There is another very important point. When you allow a call to prayer in any of the mosques, in any of the Western countries, in those areas, non Muslim try to leave those areas. They sell their houses and they leave those areas. And Muslims end up buying those houses closer to the mosque. And that scenario also plays out in the ghettoization of the area. And it will lose its diverse value. And as we say, diversity is our strength. And diversity cannot be achieved only by populating one area with Muslims. It should be both ways. If Muslims and non Muslims are living together, then that area is diverse and not the other way around. So, I have raised some of the objections and some of the points in current scenario in Ireland. I'm not talking about Pakistan, I'm not talking about Bangladesh, or I'm not talking about any of the Muslim countries. I'm talking about Ireland. Whether in Ireland broadcasting of call to prayer should be allowed on the loudspeakers or not. Please give your opinion in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.